The sheets are white. I remember that first. Bright, pressed white. The kind you only ever saw on a bed that hadn't been slept in yet. The room smells like cedar and something sweet I can't name. Outside the window, I can hear the last of the guests, their voices carrying thin across the cold, and I am standing very still in the middle of a room I have never been alone in with a man before. The candle on the dresser makes the shadows move. His hands are shaking. So are mine. He says something quiet. I don't hear the words. What I hear is my own breathing, and the way the floorboards creak when he takes one step toward me, and the sound of wind moving through the barn, and then nothing. Just the cold pressing in from the window frame, and the feeling that I am supposed to know something I do not know. That I am supposed to have been told something no one ever told me. I am 17 years old. He is 22. We have spoken maybe 40 times in our entire lives, and what happens next will take me 11 years to understand. Quick pause. My name is Sarah. This is Leaving Plain. If these stories matter to you, subscribe. It's free and it keeps them coming. And I want to ask you something in the comments. Did anyone ever sit you down and actually explain your own body to you? Tell me honestly. In the community I grew up in, a woman's body belonged to her husband on the wedding night. Not in a way anyone said out loud. No elder stood up and announced it. No rule was written in a book I could find and argue with. It was just the air. It was in the way the older women looked at you the morning after. That small nod, that half smile that meant you had crossed over into something they all shared, but never named. The theology behind it was old, older than my grandmother's grandmother, rooted in verses about submission and covenant and becoming one flesh. But the lived version of it, the version that actually touched our bodies, was silence. Complete, total, generational silence. Nobody told me what to expect. I just knew, the way you know not to speak during prayer, that whatever happened was between me and God and my husband, and asking questions about it beforehand was the same as showing you didn't trust either one. 3 weeks before the wedding, my sister Hannah pulled me aside after supper. Hannah was 26. She'd been married 4 years. She held both my hands and looked at me very seriously, and I thought, this is it. This is the moment someone finally tells me. She said, "Ruth, it hurts the first time. Just let it." That was it. 13 words. 13. My mother had given me 7. Be patient with him. He'll be nervous. My friend Miriam, who had married the previous spring, squeezed my arm the morning of and whispered, "It gets easier." Not better, easier. None of us knew that easier and better were not the same thing. Daniel, my husband, had received, as far as I could ever tell, exactly nothing. Not a conversation, not a pamphlet, not even 13 words. We were 2 people walking into a room we had both been handed the key to, with no map and no light. The bedroom was at the back of the house his father had built. Small room, low ceiling, a quilt on the bed in blue and cream that his mother had made. There was one lamp on the nightstand, turned low, and outside I could still hear the generator running from the neighbor's farm 2 fields over. That low hum that I would associate with that night for years afterward, every time I heard it anywhere. It was November. The cold came through the walls in a way I could feel on my forearms. I was wearing a white nightgown that had been my mother's, washed soft over decades, and it felt like the only thing in the room I recognized. Daniel stood by the window with his back to me for a long moment. When he turned around, He looked like a boy who had been asked to solve a problem no one had taught him. That is the only way I know how to say it. He looked like a lost boy. What happened was quiet and fast and painful and over. He held my face in both his hands. He said, I'm sorry, twice. And I didn't understand at the time what he was apologizing for. The pain, or his own fear, or both. I said, it's all right. My jaw was tight. My hands were pressed flat against the mattress. I stared at the ceiling and counted the knots in the wood because I needed something to count. Afterward, he fell asleep almost immediately, and I lay very still in the dark listening to the generator hum and feeling something warm and wrong that I could not explain and did not have words for. I thought, this must be normal. I thought, Hannah said it hurts. This hurts. So this must be right. It was not right. What neither of us understood, what no one had told either of us, was that what I was experiencing was not the ordinary discomfort of a first night. I bled for 14 days. 14. I told no one for the first week because I assumed it was normal, and I had been taught, without being taught, that what happened in a marriage bed was private unto death. Daniel noticed. He asked me once, gently, if I was all right. I said I was fine. He accepted that, not because he didn't care, but because neither of us had a single word or frame of reference that would have told him my answer was impossible. He had been kept just as blind as I had. The harm was not him. The harm was the silence that had been handed to us both, like a wedding gift we didn't know was broken. I learned to manage it quietly. I learned which movements hurt less, which positions I could hold, which sounds I could make that would end things faster, without him knowing that was what I was doing. By the time spring came, I had built an entire private architecture of endurance that I believed was just what marriage was. I would lie in the dark and think about the garden, about what needed planting, about the color of the sky that morning. I became very good at being somewhere else inside my own body. I thought every woman did this. I thought this was what the older women's nods meant. We have all learned this, and now you have too. It was Miriam who first made me think something might be different for some people. We were shelling peas on her porch in July, the summer after our weddings, and she said something small, almost nothing, about how she and her husband had started to find a rhythm. I asked her what she meant. She went quiet for a second. Then she said, I don't know, it's just nicer now. I almost said it then. I almost said, nicer how? Because for me it is only ever less bad. I almost said it. Instead, I reached for another handful of peas and said, that's good. I carried that sentence with me for 3 more years. By our 3rd year of marriage, I had started to understand, in a place I couldn't name yet, that something had been taken from me before I was old enough to know I had it. The first time I heard the word in a clinical context, I was sitting in an office that had a poster of a tree on the wall and a woman across from me who had soft eyes and no judgment in her face. She drew a small diagram on a notepad. She used words I had heard before, but never arranged like that, never aimed at my own experience like a beam of light into a room that had been dark for a decade. My body responded before my mind did. My hands started to shake, not from fear, from something I did not have a name for until she said, what you're describing sounds like it may never have been addressed. The pain, the duration. That's not something you were supposed to just endure. I sat with that sentence for a long time. I wasn't angry. I want to say I was angry, because anger would have felt cleaner. I was just sad, devastatingly, quietly, permanently sad. Sad for the girl who had lain in the dark counting knots in the ceiling. Sad for Daniel, who had apologized into her face, not knowing what he was apologizing for. Sad for Hannah and her 13 words. Sad for all of it. The whole long chain of women who had passed this silence down like an heirloom, each one believing she was protecting the next, each one doing the only thing she had ever been shown. I want to be careful here because this community gave me things I would not trade. I mean that. The sound of a hymn carried across a field on a cold morning. I still feel that in my chest like a hand pressed warm against my sternum. The bread my mother made from the wood oven on Saturdays, that specific weight and smell of it. The absolute knowledge that I was held inside something larger than myself, that the community would show up with food and labor and presence when life broke down. Those things were real. They were beautiful, and the harm was also real. It was silence dressed as holiness. Both things live in the same house. I have stopped trying to choose between them. If you grew up somewhere your own body was kept from you like something dangerous, like knowledge of it was itself a kind of sin, I see you. I see you clearly. You survived something that was never supposed to be yours to survive alone. You were never broken. You were just never told. And that is not the same thing. Not even close. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you felt listening to this. Even just one word is enough. There is so much more I haven't told yet. I am just getting started. Stay with me at Leaving Plain. Your body was always yours. It was only ever yours.